Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Aline Haddad, and I will be presenting the midterm exam, the second part of the midterm exam today. Good afternoon, students. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we're going to be discussing in our health careers class, we're going to be discussing a specific profession that falls under this category of health careers. But before we begin discussing specifically or talking specifically about this specific of this profession, I just wanted to hear from you, what are these health careers and what do they do to us? What's their role for individuals? So when you're feeling sick or you have fever or you're coughing or sneezing or your chest hurts, who do you go to? Right, you do go to your doctor. And the doctor, what does he do? He checks your temperature, he checks your chest, he looks in your ears, he tells you take a deep breath, and with the stethoscope he actually listens to your lungs, right? He may take some blood testing, some other tests, and then he determines what is the problem, meaning he determines what is the sickness, which is the problem, and then he makes a decision what kind of treatment you will be receiving. Meaning, if you're going to get medications, or he's going to tell you he or she going to tell you, you're going to wait it out because it's a virus, or you're going to have to take antibiotics because it's bacteria or bacterial infection, right? So the doctor determines what is the problem, and he also or she also tells you what's the solution to the problem. So the same thing if you break your leg or you break your arm. What do you do? Where do your parents take you? To the hospital, right? And when you go to the hospital, what do? They do some sort of testings. They take you to the x-ray machine and they x-ray your arm or your leg or your broken bone. And they check and they make sure that you actually have a broken bone. They determine where is it broken so they can put the cast on. So the problem is that you have a broken bone, and then the solution is, or the solution to the problem would be, is to put a cast on so you can heal and get better. Or when you can't see so well, where do you go? You go to the eye doctor. He does some tests for you, and then he tells you to read certain numbers or letters and determines how far you can see or how close you can see, and he tells you exactly what kind of glasses you need, right? So again, these are these are health careers. Even the nurse or the eye doctor or the general doctor or pediatrician, what do? They fix problems in our health, right? But sometimes you heal, but you're not 100%, and you need to get a little bit stronger. So, for example, you can go to a physical therapist. How many of you have heard about a physical therapist doing physical therapy? So, for example, if you think of a basketball player, right? If they get injured when they're playing ball, and then after they heal, let's say they break their arm or they break their leg, and when they heal, they are strong enough to be able to walk, but they may not be strong enough to be able to play ball again or be in a competition. So they have to go through a physical therapy program by a physical therapist where they can do exercises and do certain work with a physical therapist so they can get strong enough to be able to play again. So a physical therapist also work with the person about a problem that they have, to make them better, to heal them, to make them better and stronger. But what happens when something is actually feels wrong, or when you're feeling maybe sad, or feeling angry, annoyed, maybe afraid, anxious, disappointed, or maybe lonely? So what happens when we're feeling this way? And nobody can see or tell how we're feeling, and nobody can see and tell that we're actually feeling something wrong. What do we do? Where do we go to? Who do we go to fix our problem? Well, so who can fix our problem? Like going to a doctor to put the cast on or to give us a prescription for the glasses of the medicine? Who can help us doing all this? When we're feeling sad or angry or anxious, or we think we have a problem at home or with our parents or with a school or with our friends, and we don't know how to fix that problem, where nobody can see through a blood test or nobody can see through an x-ray or some sort of a screening exam. Well, a social worker can help with that, or a psychologist, or a counselor, or a therapist. All these individuals also fall under the category of a health profession or a health career. These individuals are specialized, have the skills and knowledge and tools to be working with people and kids and older people and younger children and mom and dads and sisters and brothers and uncles and aunts and everybody. They have the skills to work with them, to find out what kind of social problems, psychological problems, mental illnesses they may have, and how they can help those people to work through those problems, to help them fix their own problems. So they're a little different than a regular or typical doctor. How different are they? Can anybody tell me? Right. They don't have necessarily a cast to put on our social problem. They don't have, not always, sometimes they do. They don't have medication that can fix our problem. But what does it mean, social problem? What does it mean to have a problem, a social or psychological problem? So before we go into what the role of the psychologist and what do they do for us, let's try to understand what does it mean to feel sad. So a social or psychological problem can be when you're not getting along with your mom or parents, or you're waking up every morning, you feel sad and you don't feel like going to school at all, or you have a problem with your teacher and you don't know who to talk to and how to make it better with that teacher, or you may be getting bullied, or friends or kids at school keep picking on you and making you feel sad and lonely and unloved, right? So these are all considered as social problems or psychological problems. Or when you're feeling anxious, when you see something that you're afraid of or concerned about, that's also considered psychological problems. Not having a social or psychological problem does not mean that you have mental illness, but also it can mean that you have mental illness. I want you to see a video that kind of illustrates or demonstrates or shows what does it mean to have mental illness or a social problem, and that everybody actually can be at some point or another connected, either connected to somebody or actually experiencing the problem. So let's take a moment. It's 2.5 minutes of watching this video.
Have you ever broken a bone? What did you do? You went to the doctor to get an x-ray, and they put your arm in a cast. Breaking a bone is common, and nobody told you to just snap out of it, as if you could control whether or not it was broken. How about when you are sick with a fever? You go to the doctor and they prescribe you medicine that makes you feel better. No matter how hard you try, you can't use the power of the mind to mend bones or cure sickness. Everybody knows that. But there are some illnesses that you cannot see. mental illnesses. Illnesses in the brain. No different from a broken arm or a sore throat, other than the fact that they cannot be seen because they are inside your head. Like a dysfunctioning traffic light turning the wrong color and messing up traffic, mental illnesses are caused by chemical imbalances in the brain causing certain signals to be disrupted. A common example of mental illness is depression, which is when someone feels sad almost all of the time, even if they are in a happy environment. And another example is anxiety, which is when someone feels nervous or scared, even in the calmest of situations. They aren't choosing to feel this way. In fact, they can't control it any more than you could control having a sore throat. And to fix it, they need to go to the doctor too. 1 in 4 people will suffer from a mental illness in their lifetime. The other 3 will have a friend or family member who will. This affects everyone. Just because someone has a mental illness does not mean they are different. They just need to reach out and ask for some help. The bravest person can suffer from anxiety, and the happiest person can suffer from depression. Support friends with mental illness the same way in which you would support a friend with a broken arm. And if you think you have a mental illness, do not be afraid to go to the doctor or talk to a parent. You are not weak. It is not your fault, and you are not alone. There are people all around you with mental illnesses living normal lives. By talking about mental illness and supporting each other, we can heal minds as easily as we heal bones.
Okay, everybody, so we saw this video. So now, what would a social worker do then? So we are experiencing those feelings, or that feeling of sadness or fear or anxiety or loneliness. But what would a social worker do for us? How would they fix our problem? Just like a regular doctor, a therapist, meaning a social worker, a psychologist, etc., have the skills and the knowledge to teach us or teach you ways how to manage or fix your own problem. Meaning they don't come and fix the problem for you, but they work with you. They listen to your concerns, they work with you, and they give you tools, meaning strategies, ways of how you can behave or think when you are experiencing a moment of your problem. So the next video actually gives you a better idea on the role of the social worker when you're experiencing some negative emotions.
Sometimes I feel happy, sad, worried, angry, excited, disgusted, frightened. Life is full of feelings, whether they're good ones or not so good ones. None of us can help having them. It's just how our brains are wired. In fact, experts say there's a good reason we have different feelings. They can help us get along with others, protect us from danger, or tell us when something's not right and needs to change. But sometimes our feelings can be more intense or harder to handle than usual, like when we get worried.
I worry about practically everything, every slightest thing. Even like the smaller things at school also get me really worried and a bit nervous about even coming to school.
Or angry.
Sometimes I feel really annoyed at my brothers and sisters because like I'm the middle child and I feel like I'm always a peacekeeper, and it just makes me really annoyed and angry because it just never stops.
Or sad.
My mum got diagnosed with breast cancer, and at that time I just remember feeling really sad and worried that she wasn't going to survive and that I didn't have my mum with me anymore.
I used to be constantly bullied over and over again. I never really told anyone about it. I just bottled the feelings up inside me.
Experts say if you ignore these feelings or let them take over, they can end up having a bad impact on your mental health. Mental health is the way you think,